There was a young girl named Alicia who moved with her parents to a new town. They rented a big old house that was sparsely furnished. Alicia slept in the downstairs bedroom while her parents slept upstairs. After they had been living there for a few weeks, Alicia's parents noticed that she was growing very thin. As the days went on, her health seemed to get worse and worse. Then, the poor girl came down with a mysterious illness and was confined to her bed. The doctor came to examine her, and when he told her parents that she was suffering from anemia, all she needed was some rest, he said, and soon she would be as good as new. However, despite what the doctor said, Alicia's condition continued to get worse and worse. Her skin was gray and pallid. Her cheeks were sunken and there were dark circles around her eyes. Her parents were distraught and had no idea what to do. While Alicia slept in her bed, her mother and father paced back and forth restlessly, wondering what could be the cause of her mysterious illness. Day by day and hour by hour, the poor girl grew worse and worse. She was so weak she could barely move. Alicia was fading fast and the life was ebbing from her veins. She was deathly pale and her body was shriveled and withered. She started to have hallucinations and began screaming out in terror and babbling incoherently in a weak voice. Finally, Alicia lost consciousness and passed away. Her parents were inconsolable. They held a funeral service and buried their beloved daughter in the town cemetery. The day after the funeral, Alicia's mother was stripping the sheets off her daughter's bed when she noticed something on the pillow. There were 2 red stains in the white material. When she picked up the pillow, she noticed it was unusually heavy, so she called her husband to come and take a look at it. As the parents examined the pillow closely, the mother suddenly let out a scream. She felt something moving inside it. The father fetched a knife and slit open the pillow, emptying the feathers out on the floor. As the parents watched in horror, something crawled out of the pile of feathers, slowly moving its hairy legs. It was a monstrous black spider, so swollen with blood that they could scarcely make out its mouth. Night after night, as Alicia lay in bed, this hairy abomination had been stealthily sucking out all the blood from her body, slowly draining her life away. One night, not so long ago, I was walking home with a friend of mine. We both lived in the same apartment building. It was a dark autumn night, and the rain was pelting down. All of a sudden, there was a loud roar, and we heard a car swerve on the road. We were caught in the glare of a bright yellow, and a car plowed into us. We were tossed head over heels into the ditch. My friend and I were covered in mud. The driver had never even bothered to stop. We helped each other out of the ditch, and by the light of our phones, we started checking each other for injuries. We seemed to have escaped without even a bruise. We cursed the driver for being so careless and continued walking. When we reached our apartment building, we stopped to smoke a cigarette outside. When we finished smoking, I told my friend I was going home to bed. He said, "You go ahead, I'll wait here for a while." I woke up in a hospital bed. My body was covered in bandages and plaster. I was dizzy, disorientated, and nauseous. Puzzled, I asked the nurse, "Where am I? What happened to me?" "You're in the hospital," the nurse replied. "You just woke up from a 3-day coma. You were hit by a car, but you miraculously survived. The police found you lying on the road." "What about my friend?" I asked. I'm sorry," she replied. "Unfortunately, he didn't make it." When I got over the shock, I recalled the last words my friend said to me when we were saying goodbye at the entrance to our building. "You go ahead, I'll wait here for a while." A mother and daughter were traveling together in Europe. When they arrived in Paris, they booked into a luxury hotel. The mother was feeling quite poorly and decided to go to bed early. The daughter was a little worried and sent for the hotel doctor, who examined the mother and wrote out a prescription. The daughter then set out into the city to find a pharmacy and buy the medication for her mom. What should have been a simple errand ended up taking the daughter almost 4 hours, mainly because she spoke little or no French. She searched the entire city and eventually managed to find a pharmacy that was still open. Finally, the frustrated daughter arrived back at the hotel with the medicine, only to discover that her mother's room was completely empty. It was as if her mother had just vanished into thin air. In fact, the hotel room looked completely different. The carpet, the wallpaper, and the curtains all had different patterns. The bed was made and it looked as if it had never been slept in. All of their luggage was nowhere to be found. When the confused daughter stopped a cleaning lady in the corridor and asked where her mother was, she was met with a blank stare. In fact, all of the hotel staff denied ever seeing the mother and daughter before. The hotel manager even said he had no record of them ever checking into the hotel. At this point, the daughter became frantic, and she fled to the embassy, where she was greeted by sympathetic officials who wouldn't believe her story. Instead, they doubted that her mother even existed and decided that the daughter must be crazy. Trapped in a nightmare, the young girl ended up being sent to a mental hospital, where she died years later, completely insane. It's early in the morning. The sun won't be up for another couple hours. You're fast asleep in bed, lost in a dream, when the phone rings. Rather than waking up, you roll over and cover your head with a pillow. Hours pass. The sun rises. The phone is ringing. When you wake up, your alarm clock is blaring and the phone is ringing. By the time you will yourself to turn the alarm off, the phone has stopped ringing. You realize that it's been ringing all morning. You slide out of bed and press the blinking red button on your phone as you stumble into the bathroom. The phone beeps, followed by the friendly electronic voice. Hello, you have 666 new messages. Message 1. The phone beeps again, and you're not prepared for what comes next. Screaming. You spin around thinking that she's standing right behind you. There's pure terror in her screams, accompanied by other disturbing noises. You stand there, horrified, for about 10 seconds. Screaming gives way to hysterical, garbled crying, before dying out with the sounds of spilling meat and tearing flesh. The phone beeps again. You're shaking. I woke up to a beautiful morning. The sun was shining and it shimmered on the water. All of a sudden, something caught my eye. It was a little girl. She was waving her arms and moving her legs back and forth. She needs help, I thought. She can't breathe. I reached down and grabbed her, pulling her close to me. I tried to calm her down. Everything's gonna be fine, I told her. I saved you. Breathe in. Just relax and breathe in. Despite all my efforts, she went limp. I held her tightly. Not again, I thought. What went wrong this time? Children are so difficult to understand. Maybe my tentacles scare them. I brought her down to the bottom and buried her under the silt. Then I took a deep breath of water and went back to sleep. He was dead, that much was clear. She looked from the still body lying on the road to the dented hood of her BMW in panic. She'd gotten out of trouble before, but nothing on this scale. This didn't seem like something she could just make go away. She contemplated the broken form in front of her. He seemed homeless, ancient tattered clothing, grizzled features. Hell, even for a corpse he looked sickly. There was a drainage ditch by the side of the road. Well, odds were good that no one would miss him. It didn't take much force to nudge his emaciated form in. Her ill-gotten relief was cut short, however, as a hand closed around her throat. A harsh voice whispered in her ear, "Just so you know, I only eat the ones who try to leave. Would have let you go if you tried to help." In one swift movement, he snapped her neck. "We're both monsters," he hissed. "I'm just more honest about it."
If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to, you can follow me at Twitter. The handle is @FuzzyPantaloons, and I'll see you all next time.